drivers we're hearing, sounds like Jimmy Vasser yelling to him, stay out, stay out.
We're working on election.
So the 7 car, Mikhail Aleshin, just in front of the race leader, and that is not something that is going to allow him to continue to push and make a gap. Unless he can get by him quickly and cleanly, and Aleshin gives way there.
Pit.
Yeah, a little wave out of the cockpit of the 11 car. Sebastian just saying thank you for moving over.
That debris, that debris in turn 4 was picked up by a safety worker when the track was clear, so that not an issue anymore. So critical moment coming up here.
They're going to put very, very little fuel in this car, so they might be able to get out quicker than we calculated.
As we're mentioning, he's going on just 9-10 seconds ahead right now of Will Power. As we mentioned, probably one of the first ones that don't have to pit, so he's not going to come back out in front, guys.
Oh, he is standing on the gas, though. He's using every inch of the track.
Here's the pit entry.
Fine, we're going to leave the tires on, so come on down. Bring her on down. Open box, nice and easy.
Longer than I thought.
In the middle of everything, I got.
It was very interesting for that. The fueler who's putting the fuel in doesn't know how much he can put in until he gets a little tap on the shoulder from the guy that was behind him with a stick, if you saw that, just saying time to pull the fuel probe out and let's go.
Takuma Sato looking on Bourdais, so Bourdais is out in 10th place. Charlie Kimball also pitting. Graham Rahal is the new leader. Then Alexander Rossi. Then you get back to Will Power. Rahal last pitted at lap 34. Rossi at 36. And again, the fuel range on these cars is around 26 laps max, though they've had a couple of laps of caution in there to build that out a little later. And you see in some of the camera shots, Will Power is in the frame with these two as Rahal hits pit road.
So frustrating to have to pit for fuel with 10 laps to go when you're in that front pack.
Go, clear up. Does seem like a long time, doesn't it?
So there's your new leader. The man who made a lot of fuel in the last laps last Sunday for a big prize.
He's not going to be able to pull that off here, though.
Clutching and coasting the car and so on at Indianapolis.
An amazing win. That was really an amazing win.
Interesting, although he's just new to IndyCar racing. You mentioned the Formula One experience that some of these guys have, like Alexander Rossi. The guys are very, very impressed with how much technical feedback he can give and also how he reads the rules. He's very smart about the game. He will head in this time for fuel.
We now have 10 laps to go. This is going to be a sprint between Power, Pagenaud, and Hunter Ray.
3, 2, 1, in.
And so the lead now in the hands of Will Power. Simon Pagenaud is there in second. There's Ryan Hunter-Reay in third. The pass by Power. Then for fifth place just after the restart with 18 laps to go, turning into such a big moment in this race.
Track position is everything at this track.
Scott Dixon running fifth there in the red car. Connor Daly is sixth. Tony Kanaan back in seventh as this field really mixed up by the different strategy choices made by teams and the timing of the caution flags.
these are the sort of races that I really like, where it just comes down to pure speed between the top drivers. They are just going as fast as they possibly can, and the fastest car will win the race.
Well, we knew Will had a fast car because he posted a terrific time in qualifying this morning. Now, it was disallowed when it was ruled that he interfered with Marco Andretti's qualifying lap, so Will's 2 fastest laps were disallowed. That said, he still took the green flag 8th on the grid.
But if you take... I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Yep, just thinking about Will Power. Remember, he wasn't able to run at St. Pete's earlier this year. Sort of an up-and-down season that he had. But it's interesting, when I spoke to him just earlier this month, he said, you know, he's had a lot of things going on. He was wanting to work on his diet. He went to a neighbor of his where he lives over there in North Carolina, Dan Jansen, you remember the speed skater, who really helped him set his diet forward. So now he's training a little bit differently. And you remember he had that issue with his inner ear, all those sorts of things. They didn't know if it was a concussion in St. Petersburg. He says, I've just changed my life. And really, Tim Cindric has been a help on that with him. So overall, I think he's really back in a happy spot in a race car, because he went through a bit of a down there, I think, for a little while earlier this season.
I agree with what you said, but the biggest life-changing event he's had is Simon Pagenaud winning three races and coming second and always being quick. Power has not been used to having somebody in his team that can press him so much for speed. So by beating Pagenaud today, he's putting himself right back in play for the championship, and he's kind of saying, hey, I'm here too. It's not all about Pagenaud.
Key moment of the fight between these two. Back on that restart with 18 laps to go. Headed down into turn number 3.
You can see Will, the silver car back there, right behind Simon Pagenaud, came over turn 2. The car was sideways, carrying the speed up. Watch this.
Pagenaud takes the inside line, and Power goes right around the outside of him, and they both give each other room.
After what we saw yesterday between the Penske teammates, I'm sure there was a meeting.
Did you see the back come out and almost slap the side of Power's car? That was an exceptional pass on cold tires.
And I want to go back and talk about the ups and downs that Will has had so far this season. Obviously, St. Pete, that was a big deal. Remember the Grand Prix at Indianapolis, the road course race there, when he got racing with Alexander Rossi and spun off the course. How unlike Will Power that was to be forced into a mistake. Then the Indianapolis 500, he got the penalty for the avoidable contact on pit road, the unsafe release, on pit road, and that kind of set his race back also. So it has been, after the tough start to the season, a really tough month of May for Will Power, and a win here can be a huge psychological lift and boost for him to launch him into the rest of this season.
And I think absolutely, and the thing that he needed so much, as Tim Cindric was saying to me, he just needs to get out there and do the things that he was doing before. And I also spoke with Rick Mears, who's the driver coach in Team Penske, and I said, is there something going on with Will? And he said, nope, drivers go high and low in their career. You understand how that is. Rick went through it, not too often, obviously, but he said, we don't see anything different in Will Power.
6 more laps, 6 to go.
6 to go, getting the information from Tim Cindric. And he said, I don't see him doing anything different. He just needs to get out of this cycle, and then when he gets back on a winning streak, he'll feel great. And that's probably what's going to happen today.
Remember yesterday we showed you Power's race that got set aside when he came off pit road, and they had trouble with the right rear tire on the pit stop, and he got down to turn 3 and that wheel came off the car, and he wound up sitting in the runoff area watching the rest of the race strapped in there.
There's not going to be much left of that plastic bottle pretty soon.
That is always her thing.
Stressful.
She is, excuse the pun, willing him forward. He is a very, very fast driver, and he really needs this win.
And Liz was a PR person for another team in the IndyCar series, and they met many years ago and started dating and got married, and now she just goes with Will on all the promotional events that he does and all the races that he does. A great supporter for him, but for Will, he finds that speed all the time to go so quick in qualifying. You and I have talked about that before, where all the other drivers said, where does he find that last 2 or 3 tenths? But I think your point, Eddie, that Simon's now arrived in the team. Do you think that was done on purpose by Roger Penske?
No, he would never unbalance a team for a little extra speed, would he?
I don't think it's unbalanced.
Like that.
I think it's like raising the level of the team.
And that's what's happened today to Power. This is an impeccable drive and he's beaten his teammate, who is the racer this year that's won the most races. So he's doing exactly what the captain wants him to do: win. Look at those numbers.
Those aren't usual numbers for a driver that a lot of folks have considered for a long time to be the best pure road course racer in this series.
Absolutely. I mean, for many years, he was the one that had pole. It was almost a given. Then all of a sudden, Penske hires Pagenaud. Pagenaud does not have a very good first season. And then his second season, he comes alive. This will launch Power to a really good rest of the season.
When he started driving, he was living with his family back in Toowoomba, Australia. Started driving a Datsun 1200, driving a sedan car, and then went into his dad's Formula 4 team. And then his dad saw his talent, so they tried to get him to different teams inside Australia. Then Will knew he had to go and visit Europe, much like you did when you went to Formula 1. So he went off to Europe, didn't know if he had a ride, but got support of a lot of people over there. They saw his talent, but could never find the top ride. So came back here to America and had the opportunity to work his way up, and now he's on top of American motor racing.
He's 1.8 seconds ahead of Simon Pagenaud, coming to 3 laps to go. Pagenaud started on pole again, looking for his 4th win of the season. Yesterday, circumstances went awry, and Indianapolis had a great car, ended up with an engine problem late in the race that took him out from a chance to win. Yet he barely lost any of his championship lead with that. And he will come away from this one again, while not getting the win, with a very solid day where the championship is concerned.
And another second place.
Yeah, Indy kind of killed his average a little bit.
Yes.
Yesterday didn't help either.
You cannot have a bad month of May and hope for a positive end of the championship. You have to do well at Indy. So many points are available there.
Ryan Hunter-Reay started 2nd, in position to finish 3rd.
He is the highest Honda on the track right now.
Of course, with the introduction of the aero kits last year, no secret that the Honda team struggled for much of the season. Figured it out later in the year. Hunter-Reay won later in the season. They seem to be on a little bit better curve this year, while they've struggled on the road and street courses to start this season compared to the strength of Chevrolet and the Penske Chevrolets. They seem to be figuring out that balance curve a little more quickly, which bodes well for the Honda teams as this summer stretch goes on.
Hunter-Reay is such a professional, and if he gets in a hole, he finds a way to crawl out of it. He did that at Indy, and he's done it here. He is definitely a race winner.
Solid day for Joseph Newgarden, who runs 4th, and Scott Dixon with a much-needed comeback after difficulties yesterday that saw him finish well down, running in 5th. Reminder, next weekend's race, Saturday night, Texas Motor Speedway, the Firestone 600, 8 p.m. Eastern, over on NBCSN. So 2 laps to go here for Will Power. Not an easy 2 laps, even though he's got that 2.5 lead on Pagenaud. As difficult as this track is, the second end of the doubleheader, fighting everything.
He's feeling pretty good just about now. All he's doing is hitting his markers, as you always say, Scott. He's heading for all of his apexes. He's not thinking about anything other than finishing the lap that he is on.
He'll leave himself just a little bit more room on the entrance and on the exit by the walls. Been watching the second and third run right now as we're watching Will Power still leading. Ryan Hunter-Reay had a few more push-to-passes left than Simon Pagenaud did, so expecting to see him maybe get a little closer, take a run here at the end. But Simon seems to be able to keep up the speed.
If you're driving for Penske and you don't win the Indy 500, I think the next best race you can win is Detroit.
White flag, last lap. Mentioned Roger Penske, his organization, the promoters of this event that raises so much money for the Belle Isle Conservancy to try and rebuild and restore this wonderful island that so many citizens enjoy throughout the year. Roger's corporate business headquartered here in Detroit. This is hometown, and of course the hometown of Chevrolet, and they want to win here very, very badly. The next best thing to a win at Indy for them.
Penske Automotive Group, the second largest automobile group here in North America.
Pagenaud closing in a little bit here.
metrics say overtake, overtake. Will Powers now just got one left. Simon just used his last one.
I don't think he's close enough.
Is there overtake?
Yeah, that was the last chance right there to make any kind of a desperate move. So checkered flag, his 26th career win. And his first win since the first race of May 2015. Will Power wins it in Detroit.
Good job, man. Good job, boys. It's been a long time. Great job. Great job.
The road course race in Indianapolis a year ago, Will Power's last win. This one ties him with Roger Ward for 14th on the all-time win list. Victory Lane and post-race coverage from Detroit after this from your ABC station.
You remember how to celebrate these things?